The MP5, or Maschinenpistole 5, is possibly the most common style of submachine gun ever. Since its introduction to West German police in 1966, it's been a staple among NATO member nations, loved for its compact reliability and controllability. Because of this, it should come as no surprise that Call of Duty Modern Warfare features the MP5, depicted as the MP5A3 model, which was introduced with the MP5A2 in 1970. The one in Modern Warfare also uses an aftermarket Picatinny optic mount clamped to the top of the receiver, an aftermarket integrated flashlight in a dedicated forend, and a Navy trigger group. The MP5A3 differs from other models by lacking the 3-round burst option that newer models like the MP5A5 have, but still using a collapsible stock. The first variant we're looking at is the HK54, also known as the MP5A1, which is a prototype version that was proposed to West German Police Border Patrol guards. It was adopted and used for 4 years before being replaced by the MP5A2 and A3. It featured the older SEF trigger group and an old thin vented barrel shroud, meaning you need a blueprint like Feeling Rusty to recreate this. Solid stock versions did exist, but were much less popular. The MP5A2 is the first major production model, and only differs from the MP5A3 by its solid stock instead of a collapsible one. For a more nostalgic look, you can equip it with an aftermarket RIS handguard to make it look like the MP5A2 from Modern Warfare 3. In 1974, Heckler and Koch began designing an integrated but detachable aluminum suppressor for models with a lighter bolt intended for counter-terrorist operators or domestic situations where police would need a much quieter firearm. The MP5 SD1 is the most compact model, lacking a buttstock. Although Modern Warfare doesn't have an end cap option for the receiver, it does have a folded stock option that can suffice, mostly. The MP5 SD2 is simply the integrally suppressed version of the MP5A2, with the same solid stock allowing for more accurate and stable firing. The MP5 SD3 is the integrally suppressed version of the MP5A3, and the most common version. Using the collapsible stock from the latter, it can be deployed in much more tight scenarios than the MP5 SD2 could, but it can still be more stable than the MP5 SD1. Modern Warfare features a barrel option called FSS Mini, and this is often recognized to be an MP5K barrel, but actually the barrel shroud is not flush with the barrel itself, proving that this slightly thicker and longer barrel shroud belongs to an SP-89, a civilian MP5K sold to the United States with several changes, including omitting the foregrip to comply with the National Firearms Act of 1934, being semi-automatic only to comply with the National Firearms Act of 1986, and featuring a push-button magazine release instead of a paddle. Its production was cancelled due to the National Firearms Act of 1994. In modern warfare, there's no way to restrict the SP-89 to semi-automatic only, remove the stock completely, or change the magazine release. So it will never be a true SP-89, but if a player wanted to use it realistically, they could switch it to semi-automatic every time they play with it. Though this expansion of the barrel shroud actually gives us a unique opportunity to combine the SB98 forend with a suppressor, which creates a fictional but hypothetically integrally suppressed MP5K variant that would be called the MP5K SD. RDTS does actually manufacture a conversion kit for the MP5K4 to make an MP5K SD, but it features a wire folding stock, a 3-round burst option, and a more ribbed barrel shroud, all of which are not available within Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare does feature a 10mm auto magazine option, which lets the user convert it into an MP510. The MP510 was created in 1992 for the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, who had just adopted the 10mm auto cartridge in 1989. The 10mm auto cartridge is much more powerful than the usual 9mm Parabellum, but had the disadvantage of having more recoil. Because of this, the MP510 was usually manufactured with a solid stock and the ability to fire 2-round bursts, but it was manufactured with a variety of trigger groups and with both MP5A2 and A3 stocks. In late 2013, Heckler and Koch made the decision that if their successor to the MP5, the UMP, wasn't going to be as popular as its older brother, then they should release an upgraded version of the MP5, unveiling the MP5 MLI, or Midlife Improvement, an upgraded version of the MP5A5 featuring a quick-release optic mount, a tri-rail forend, and coming in the new RAL 8000 color scheme. Modern Warfare lets you have this, or a similar version of it, with the Sand Snake blueprint, but the blueprint oddly features a much older SEF trigger group. To make the blueprint much more like the actual model, I recommend removing all attachments except the stock and adding the FSS light barrel. Because the entire gun isn't in RAL 8000 and it's impossible to use the Navy trigger group with a 3-round burst option, the gun isn't a true MP5 MLI, but it's the closest you can make in modern warfare. These are all the closest to real-world gun variants you can make in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. If you want to see more gun variants, you can look at the Division of Arms list of all Modern Warfare's gun variants in the description. Hopefully Modern Warfare 2 will feature even more variants. See you next time.